But I will tell you, watching Shedeur, I said it last week, I'll say it again, it reminds me of the Colorado Shedeur. But I think my take is on Shedeur, he's good enough to start in the league, isn't he?
In a stunning reversal, Colin Cowherd has completely changed his tune on Shedeur Sanders. Just months ago, Cowherd was among the loudest critics questioning Sanders' NFL readiness. Before the season and throughout its early weeks, he held nothing back, dismissing Sanders as an elite quarterback prospect and openly mocking the notion that he could thrive at the professional level. Now, after Sanders' dominant showing against the Titans, Cowherd is singing a completely different song, suddenly calling him NFL ready. The about-face is undeniable. It's obvious he's scrambling to stay relevant after being so wrong with his initial takes. But here's what really stands out. It's not just the praise itself, it's the way he's delivering it. His words are dripping with backpedaling, and you can almost hear the humility forced upon him by Sanders' exceptional play.
You know, my takeaway on him is if you look mostly like you look in college, then I think it's going to work. So I think he's a franchise quarterback.
The same analyst who once doubted Sanders is now racing to get in front of the narrative. There's an unmistakable sense of reluctant respect in his tone. The same Colin Cowherd who blasted Shedeur Sanders for his decisions and questioned his abilities has now shifted to offering cautious praise. His voice, noticeably softer and less certain than before, carries the weight of regret for his previous harsh commentary. Cowherd recently observed that Sanders is flashing the same commanding presence he displayed in college, and if he continues on this trajectory, he could realistically be the Browns' starting quarterback as soon as next season. Colin Cowherd is now presenting evidence of Shedeur Sanders' talent, finally acknowledging just how impressive the young signal caller has been. He highlighted that despite being without 4 or 5 offensive starters, Sanders still threw for 400 yards, a truly remarkable achievement. Cowherd has openly admitted that Sanders is steadily proving his worth in the NFL, and it's crystal clear that the quarterback's performance has humbled him. He no longer feels compelled to tear Sanders down, and his earlier criticism has been replaced with a more respectful, even grudging acknowledgement of his abilities.
Cleveland was missing 6 to 7 starters and still had over 400 yards in bad weather, 6.5 yards per play.
Colin Cowherd, who previously used Shedeur Sanders' draft slide to the 5th round as a teaching moment about humility, is now swallowing his own medicine. During the draft process, Cowherd even went after Deion Sanders, suggesting he was capitalizing on his son's name. But now, with Shedeur proving himself on NFL Sundays, karma has made its full rotation. Cowherd's earlier harsh takes have circled back to haunt him, and it's evident he's been humbled by Sanders' impressive development. Let's look back at what he said before.
Humility works in the summer, it works in the fall, humility works in the spring, humility works in the winter. Don't gas your kids up too much.
Colin Cowherd isn't the only one making a U-turn. Dan Orlovsky has executed a complete 180 as well. Not only has he issued an apology, but he's gone so far as to break down Shedeur Sanders' game film and declare him the perfect quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. This is the same Dan Orlovsky who, before the draft, was convinced that Shedeur wouldn't cut it in the NFL. Yet Sanders' clutch performances in high-pressure situations have silenced every doubt, proving his success is legitimate and sustainable.
Right there, Dan. Do you like what you've seen from Shedeur so far?
I do. He's playing faster. That's probably the biggest gripe of him coming out of school. So this is the traditional under-center bootleg. The big thing is after the fake, you got to snap your head, find that end man. He does.
Dan Orlovsky, formerly one of Shedeur Sanders' harshest critics, has now issued a public apology. Anyone who remembers Orlovsky's scathing comments will recall he labeled Shedeur one of the weakest throwers in the draft class and seriously questioned his NFL future. However, following Sanders' standout performance against the Titans, Orlovsky has completely flipped his position, now praising the quarterback's development and raw talent. This dramatic shift in Orlovsky's opinion marks a significant turning point, as he now views Shedeur as a genuine NFL starter. You're not taking a guy early because of that.
Things for Shedeur coming out of the draft that I was critical of was like, I don't think he's a ridiculous athlete, not a high-end athlete, kind of average.
Even throughout the preseason, Dan Orlovsky continued targeting Shedeur Sanders. He criticized Shedeur's media interviews, painting him as an immature, unfocused quarterback who wasn't mentally prepared for the NFL. It seemed as though Orlovsky harbored a personal grudge against Sanders, taking shots at him whenever possible.
Everything that you do when you're a quarterback, I don't care if your first, second, or third is a job interview. In that league, every single thing you do.
In his most recent breakdown video, Dan Orlovsky has completely reversed course. He wasn't just complimenting Shedeur Sanders, he was dissecting key plays from Shedeur's game, pinpointing exactly where he dominated. It's almost surreal that this is the same Dan who relentlessly attacked Shedeur even before he'd gotten a legitimate opportunity. Orlovsky appeared almost eager to watch Sanders fail in the NFL, constantly firing shots his way. But after witnessing Shedeur's exceptional outing, everything has shifted. Now, Orlovsky is ranking Shedeur among the NFL's elite quarterbacks. Let's hear what Dan is saying about Shedeur now.
3 is the backside right now. Man, that's awesome. We see that from high-level starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Very well done by Shedeur. Changes the protection here.
Shedeur Sanders' rise from doubted prospect to critic silencer has been absolutely remarkable. Early in his journey, countless voices questioned whether the young quarterback possessed what it takes to succeed in the NFL, with Colin Cowherd and Dan Orlovsky being the most vocal doubters. Cowherd, famous for his sharp critiques, dismissed Shedeur's NFL prospects, ridiculing his skills and even criticizing his father, Deion Sanders, for promoting his son's abilities.
Why Shedeur Sanders dropped like a rock in the draft and ended up going in the 5th round with the Cleveland Browns, where he's now splitting scout team duties with Bailey Zappi. Deion Sanders admitted the Eagles and the Ravens called his son before the draft, but he didn't want to be a long-term backup. Deion is quoted as saying, "I never sat on the bench and learned a lot." I mean, who learns sitting on the bench? Oh, I don't know. Aaron Rodgers, Brady, Patrick Mahomes behind Alex Smith. So 2 great organizations said, "Would you like to come into our house and learn from us?" Nah, yeah.
Orlovsky also attacked Shedeur's interviews and playing style, openly doubting his capacity to make the leap to the professional ranks.
I'm like, can we just pull the temperature down a little? It's not the end of the world. If he had Caleb Williams' talent, nobody would, I guess, care. But the whole thing is like, bro, you wore New York Giant cleats.
They weren't outliers. Plenty of analysts and commentators were skeptical, framing Shedeur as just another overhyped prospect destined to fall short. Fast forward to today, and Shedeur has completely rewritten the narrative in spectacular fashion. Through his electrifying performances on the field, including standout games despite missing key offensive weapons, he's proven the skeptics dead wrong.
So a lot of people want to see me fail, and that ain't gonna happen.
Even those who were the loudest in their criticism, like Cowherd and Orlovsky, have been forced to eat their words. Cowherd, who once tore Shedeur apart, now acknowledges his excellence, pointing out how impressive it is that Sanders threw for 400 yards without multiple starting offensive players. Orlovsky, once certain that Shedeur wouldn't make it, now recognizes him as one of the league's premier quarterbacks. This reversal is pure poetry justice. Shedeur's unshakable confidence and brilliant play have forced even his fiercest critics to acknowledge his talent. The very people who ridiculed him now stand humbled, and in many ways, Shedeur's success is a testament to perseverance and belief. He's not just proving doubters wrong, he's demonstrating that undeniable talent will always rise to the surface, no matter how loud the criticism gets. Shedeur Sanders has shocked the football world, and his story serves as a powerful reminder that sometimes the ultimate response is simply delivering on the field. What do you think about Shedeur Sanders' incredible journey? Are you surprised by how quickly he silenced his critics, or did you always believe in his potential? How do you feel about the dramatic change in tone from critics like Colin Cowherd and Dan Orlovsky, who were once so vocal in their doubts? Do you think this represents poetry justice, or does it simply show how rapidly perceptions can shift in the world of sports? We'd love to hear your thoughts on Shedeur's story and the way he's proving everyone wrong.